Here we are with my man, Cory Allen. I don't even know what podcast number this is because I've taken so goddamn long to get another one up. It's like 17 or something, but I don't even know.
Yeah.
But that's all right because look, we got a new studio. It's dope as fuck.
It is.
And we're ready to do some potting.
Yeah, it's clean. It's crisp in here, man.
That's right.
A lot of wood, a lot of gold finishes.
Wood. We got all gold everywhere.
Yeah.
I learned that from my man, Trinidad James. All gold everything, except
Yeah.
for us, it's more like all wood everything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's clean. I'm going to get some wood, a wood grill to put in, man. Like George Washington type shit.
That's old school.
Yeah.
That's older than old
so I
school.
like to do it, you know.
A wood grill.
Yeah, it's all cyclical, man. Stylist. So I figure, you get to go back a few extra steps before then, the current turns. And
What kind of wood do you use? You got to use like hardwood, like an ironwood.
You know what? I really like walnut.
Walnut on my grill, dog.
That's what I made my
wood grain.
I built this 49 stringed instrument, and I used a lot of
A
walnut.
49 string instrument.
I'm
That's
crazy.
excessive.
No, it's not. Let me tell you why real quick. It's because the way I designed it was that there's 7 major notes, A, B, C, D, F, G.
Right.
And each one of those has 4 major strings and then 3 sympathetic strings, right? So then each note has 7 strings per note, so you can get like a timbral type of.
What are you talking about? A timbral type?
Dude,
sympathetic strings and
Yeah.
timbral? Who do you think
Yeah.
our audience is? Do you think we know what you're talking about, Cory? We have no idea. 49 strings. How do you keep them in? How do you even know what you're playing?
It's because it's because, man, I designed this shit. So
I mean, how much more pussy do you get playing a 49 string instrument than a regular guitar?
it actually works in negative integers. It's
So
got
you
kind of a
reach a-
drying agent to it. It doesn't matter, male or female. If you bust it out in the room, it does dry any body, mouth, crotch, whatever. It dries it. Yeah. No, but it's really it's great because Indian instruments like a sitar, a tambura, something like that, they have main strings and they have sympathetic strings. And basically, what it is the main strings are tuned to a certain pitch, and the sympathetic strings are tuned to a pitch that's a few cents off from that. So when you play it, you get like these vibrations right in between different cents, or different hertz. So it causes that type of buzzing, celestial type of majestic type sound.
So is it like a harp or is it like a guitar?
It's more like a dulcimer harp drone type thing. I was calling it the drone harp for a while.
The drone harp.
It's pretty crazy.
Because it just kills anybody who's in the room.
Dude, for sure. Yeah. Well, I meant drone as in music, like but it also, I like the drone harp. Yeah. It's all in the black and white of like the beautiful harpness and then the blackness of the droneness. It's a nice little yin yang there, because the beautiful celestial sounds of the harp will kill you.
Yeah.
And people around you.
Can you play it remotely?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, man.
Just send it into a room and play it. Dry all the pussies up in the room.
Yeah.
It's like your secret. It's like your secret weapon.
Yeah, all music nerds will be hot and excited.
Hey, what's that? Someone was asking me, and I should probably just ask the Google. But you know that the iboga music? I think they have like a string in their mouth, and they're
a string in their mouth.
Yeah. They play it like with their mouth.
Oh, nice.
And like.
That's cool.
Do you not know what that is?
I don't know what it's called. No.
I don't know what it's called either. Let's ask the Google. I think it's a Buiti Iboga musical instrument. I don't know. We'll get back to people on that.
Yeah, man. Those
The chief instrument is the 8. Oh, it just denied me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many funky little tribal instruments, man. They just, I mean, that's what's cool about it is that they just use their surroundings and they're relative to that place,
Yeah.
So those dudes be like, oh, there's a like viscous blade of grass. I'm going to put that in my mouth and use it. But that's what trips me out about drums and stuff is that you think about like, especially, kind of Afro-Brazil type drum stuff or even Afro-Cuban type drums where they just, the fact that the humans had the sense to hollow out some wood and then put some goat skin over that and start thumping it,
Yeah.
And I've heard it said before, and I really like the notion.
Put some goat skin over it and start thumping it. That applies to so many things. They've used that method. They've used that method for years.
Yeah, for sure. But I like the idea that in music, if you it's something I've kept in mind, certainly writing music before, and if it translates to other music, is that something, a rhythm that's beating faster than your heart will make you energized and excited, and a rhythm beating slower than your heart will make you calm and relaxed. And
okay, so check this out. That's a general rule, and but it's not exactly literal, because the Bwiti music, which is what I was going to chat with you about anyways, it's incredibly fast. Like the beats per minute are like,
it's a polyrhythm.
Yeah, it's
syncopated.
It's super, and because your heart rate is going so hard and so fast already, you know, that it somehow relaxes you. Like any kind of slow music at that point will tweak you out. You know, you're like,
well, it's because then it's in that type of disassociated state, you don't want negative space. Right. Because negative space is like, that's opportunity for your mind to go elsewhere.
Well, your mind is elsewhere.
No. I mean, elsewhere, not elsewhere. And so what's cool about that is I've described, like, I listen to like a lot of free jazz, and I have for a long time. Like, I love that shit. And people say it's so crazy. You know, it sounds like chaos. It is chaos. It's chaos personified.
Is that just a bunch of people playing instruments together?
I mean, it is
just randomly
playing it.
No, but like not to a melody. Like when they're jamming, you know, like they're just getting together and jamming. Hey, we're gonna have a jam session, bro.
No. I'm talking about like Sun Ra, Pharoah Sanders, you know, any of the Impulse guys, man. They basically like they're personifying the chaos of the universe within music. It's like the most complex and amazing music.
Isn't one of the most interesting and beautiful parts of music is creating the harmony of the universe through music?
Well, it is. I mean, that is the harmony, but you have to be open enough to be able to hear it. I mean, that sounds like elitist, but it's really not. It's nothing like that. It's a matter of comprehension and sound awareness, you know. Right. So you can hear.
So how high do you have to be?
Either way. I mean, I suppose it depends on the vessel, you know, whoever's doing the listening. But to me, you know, it's some of the most complex and interesting music that's available. But the thing about that is, you know, people have asked me, it sounds so chaotic. And I said, no, to me, it's really relaxing. Like I can listen to a Sun Ra record where he's got like, you know, 30, his orchestra, you know, which he had like 30 people in his group it was Sun Ra. And then his orchestra, which it was the it was taking, he was from Saturn, Sun Ra was, and his orchestra was taking all of the black people back to Saturn. He was rescuing them away from the white planet.
He's really high.
Dude, he wasn't high at all. He was like a savant.
He's taking the black people to Saturn?
Yeah, back to Saturn, man. He was a visitor on planet Earth.
You can't tell me that he's taking the black people back to Saturn and he's not high.
He's not. He was like autistic, man. I'm going to show you a picture, even though it's for the people listening, it's not very fun. But I just want you to see what you're dealing with, my friend. Because I like Sun Ra so much, I just have pictures of him on my phone. Look at that guy.
Yeah, he's high.
Mr. Ra is Mr. Mystery. It's Mr. Mystery, man. His story is his history is his story, man.
He just robbed a costume shop and he's high as fuck.
He's one of the greatest musicians of all time, Sun Ra.
Sun Ra?
Yeah, he's
I'm
amazing.
gonna have to be the judge of that.
Well, I have about 90 of his albums. If you,
Whoa,
I can
fan.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so the point of all this is that you know, it sounds like chaos.
What if I just roll in straight up Anubis?
Dude.
Be like, yo, Sun Ra, call me Anubis. Let's war, motherfucker.
He would probably try and feed you some cabbage and then talk to you about Saturn for about 45 minutes.
What kind of cabbage?
Minutes.
The devil's cabbage?
Just not raw cabbage. You know, he actually would like
gives you gas.
He would. Well, they had all of the orchestra. All the people lived together in the same house in Philadelphia, right? On Thornton Street, or Morton Street. I mean,
before they went to Saturn.
Before they went to Saturn, yeah. And what they would do is that he would actually cook a meal for each one of them independently based on what he felt that they needed. You know, so he would basically talk to them, see where their mind and their vibration was at, and then go cook a meal to you know, feed that proper vibration. And he would pair off people to sleep in the right rooms that he thought that their energies needed to be together in those rooms each night. He would sleep like 3 hours a night, sometimes less. Since he had so many people in his group, he wrote all the music. So he would sit up, show everyone the music, and then while they were trying to figure it out and like practice it, he would sleep for 3 hours at his piano just with his head up, you know. When they were on tour, he would go into the space and like look around at the size and the psychoacoustics inside of the space, and he would recompose all of the music, make little adjustments, and you're dealing with like 30 different people's music. He would sit there and rewrite it all, basing the reflections and the changes in the room whenever people would be there. So each each performance was tailored to the vibration of that
He's
space.
either a total genius or a total kook.
Both. Yeah, both for sure. He's like, I mean, I love him. There's a great.
Did he do all that in his Egyptian god costume?
Dude, of course. He didn't have anything else. There's a great. If anyone
is he going to get buried with live servant girls?
He's dead.
Did he get buried with live servant girls?
I don't believe so. He was asexual.
So could have been servant
explains,
boys.
Yeah. Well, it explains a lot. But but anyone that's actually the one person that's interested that's listening to this, and there's an amazing book called Space is a Place.
Yeah,
about him, and if you ever wanted to know anything about Sun Ra, it's a great biography. I've read a couple of biographies about him, and it's the best. It's fantastic.
Interesting character.
Check it out. So anyway,
so when you go deep down the sound wormhole, you find people like Sun Ra, like Cory Allen.
Yeah,
Cory Allen's deep down the sound wormhole.
I'm so deep down the sound hole that I think I've come out on the other side. But the point of all that is that music that's so complex and intense like that sounds like chaos. Someone's asked me how is that relaxing, and it's same thing with intense like polyrhythmic syncopated drums like the iboga drums. But what it is it's like a electric vibrator, something they would use on your shoulders or whatnot,
right.
or wherever you like.
Oh.
I mean, the thing is moving really fast, but it's relaxing.
Yeah.
The end of it is, but it still feels good on the muscle. And that's kind of how I think, to me, something like free jazz or the syncopated tribal drums operates. Is it's fast and intense, but there's this through line through all of that's got this grounded thing about it that is pleasurable. It's
interesting. I mean, it's music. Some of it seems to hit all of us. And everybody can feel something that we like and that sounds good, but then some just people have aversions to naturally, like dubstep, for example.
Yeah.
Like some people will just categorically say, oh, that's fucking shit. It's terrible. But, which is surprising to me because you get a good song like that and you'll feel it. It'll motivate you. And you kind of unleash some primal energies that a lot of other music has a difficulty reaching that level, at least for me, of that primal state.
Yeah, try and lift weights to Leonard Cohen, and then try and lift weights to dubstep and see what gets you more pumped up.
So, but it's interesting though, some people just can't stand it. They can't get past the mental aspect of it.
Music is about resonances, and I think that with that also comes a cultural aspect, of course. So someone that would just the notion that what music you like is predicated upon genre is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's not a one in and one out. That's like saying it's close to just being like, I don't like white people, I don't like black people. It's like, what? How many are you talking about? That's a sweeping generalization. Have you met all of them? That's like I can remember who it was. He was talking about Hitler, saying that he didn't like Jewish people and obviously wanted to take them out. It's like, have you met all of the Jewish people in the world? How many did you meet? Like 100, 1,000?
Yeah.
And you decided, it's the same type of thing. It's about resonances, man. And so people that say, oh, I don't like that type of music, they normally are saying that they don't like the culture surrounding that type of music because they've had some negative association with it predicated upon their own subjectivity.
Like rap music.
Like rap music. Like, dude, I know everything. I love rap music. I grew up listening to it. I know everything about it. But, people like hate. I know people that hate it. And they think it's ridiculous. But it's like, why? It's like the funnest music on the planet. It's like great. And I think it's the best driving music because the push and pull of the kick and the snare of like heavy hip hop beats where you get that boom boom sound. For driving, that's great because that's why people drive to it. It's because the gas and the brake. Yeah. It's the perfect syncing for the push and the pull of being in a car. It rides with the music with the push and pull of the kick and the snare, man, perfectly.
And it's fun to pop bottles too.
Yeah, all of that.
It's fun to be silly, man. You're in the club.
Absolutely.
You're doing something silly anyways, or in the strip club.
Yeah.
It just fits.
It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's I think in art, rap is a very sellable version of of connecting with our deeper truth and primal self, and some part of us that is in there, and
maybe primal self.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm going to go down with you on the deeper self. It depends on what you mean by deeper self. If you mean deeper back to the roots of our, animal selves, our primate selves, that kind of raw, dominate, conquer, get richer, fuck your woman, that kind of part of ourselves, but probably not our higher selves.
No, it's energy. That's what I mean about truth. Energy. And so
what do they call that? Shakti?
Yeah, Shakti. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was massaging my Shakti earlier, man.
Corey, we don't need to hear about that shit, man. My fleshlight days are over. We don't need to be talking about massaging your Shakti.
I wanted to blast up my spine and into my third eye.
If someone wants to blast up your spine all the way into your third eye, that's not the kind of dude you want to be fucking with.
That's how I do it. Also, just a quick thing I remembered earlier that I was doing that I wanted to mention was a nice trick for people that are meditating or trying to get in their zone is to actually lick your finger and touch where your third eye is while you're trying to do some crown chakra opening meditation. It's an interesting trick because you can feel the wind in the cool spot touching your forehead, and you actually like get a place to focus on tactile for your third eye. It's a nice trick. I suggest trying it.
Yeah, I actually use, I have like a little bit of essential oil that I use, and I do the same trick, but I just don't like licking my fingers as a grown man.
For each your own.
Yeah. But yeah, it does. It has the same effect. It's a little bit like
finger.
tingly.
Yeah.
And and you can feel the air on
It's a cool trick.
And even if you actually, I remember the Bwiti shaman that I worked with, the Iboga with. He had like two, what seemed like chestnuts, right? And he had them both in his hands, and he put one on my third eye, and he whacked the other one with it, and it made like a really loud like popping sound, like pop, and having that kind of sound and vibration sensation on there, it left like a memory of that, and it kind of drew more attention to that, and then I was blasted off for 24 hours.
Yeah, it left a memory. Just a big old whelp.
Yeah, but that just being able to remember that, draw that sound into it.
Yeah, totally.
It's interesting because even just focusing your attention and energy on that spot, it makes a difference. It makes a difference in how you think and how you perceive, almost immediately.
I let the ocean of the universe if I can just feel the pressure of it all flowing in there, man. Right. It's like a white pinwheel of lightning just like slowly rotating right there.
That's what they say it should be. But
Yeah,
it's colored.
it's
colored lightning.
Mine's
right?
always, it's silver, always
silver.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that in my experiments starting, as a teenager.
So you can you see that stuff really? Because look, I've gone off the deep end many, many times, and I can feel it. I can feel the energy, the chi, whatever you want to call it, whatever your vocabulary permits. Yeah. That kind of energy that resonates through those focal points, which I think makes some sense to me, the chakras, and I can feel that, but I could never see it visually with my eyes.
Yeah, I do. But it's one of those things where, with the eyes open, no. But I close my eyes and I'll see just that spinning pinwheel thing. And any of the, I've been doing meditation and those type of things for, like over 15 years. And, I'm getting a lot of great results, I've never, even still when they say like, oh, you should feel a red light in your sacrum. You should feel a blue light in your throat. Like I've never seen or thought of that. And I think that perhaps that could be, an intention, more of an intention type thing, a focus. I have in meditation, the deeper, like an eagle gaze type of meditation where you're focusing on a point while you meditate, particularly like I'd light a candle. It sounds so intense when you say it out loud. Light a candle and stare into the flame while meditating. And, it will, as I get into the zone, will actually start stretching and getting wider and taller and wider. And it does something weird about and it could be your eyes focusing on a light or something.
There could be some weird stuff. I know with what they call soul gazing or eye gazing, where you look into another person's, into the pupils of their eyes for long enough, and you'll see that person start to morph. Have you ever tried that?
Yeah.
That's some crazy shit. And do it in the mirror too, and you see yourself. And really, everything else gets kind of out of focus and weird, except your pupils are like crystal clear and then they'll start to morph. I did that the other day. It was like 2 days ago. Nice. And I could see my eyes getting like big alien, like almond shaped eyes and all pupil. And I could see fully other beings looking at me in the mirror. I was like, whoa.
It's like the beings within yourself.
But yeah.
I got
so
that.
What do you think that is, man? Do you think that is perhaps some other, incarnations of our former, our soul in different beings? Or do you think that's primal elements within inside ourselves, or just our mind making shit up?
I think that the membrane between realities is so thin and so easy to puncture. But people spend their whole lives without breaking through that membrane. And they're so simple to manipulate. They're so easy to slide in and out.
Way easier than you think.
It's incredible. You can do breathing, and you can push through those things.
Yeah.
So I think that focusing your mind and getting the electrical impulses and all of the flow of your brain to focus in the proper direction, you can push through those type of things. And
that's what I talk about in that video that actually you helped me make. So everybody, shout out if you've seen my psychedelic experience video. The reason it sounds as good as it does is thanks to Cory.
Yeah,
and of course I had a great video editor as well to help me on that. But yeah, as I was talking, so many ways to get there: fasting, breathing. Even sometimes it just happens. You get these DMT natural dumps that just happen automatically when people don't know, and that's what they think is accounting for a lot of these alien abduction experiences when the aliens aren't actually abducting people.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I last night with my friend. Can we have some more of that? Last night with my friend, we're just rocking some.
Look at this cool fucking teapot. This is what's up in the new office. It's fucking fancy teapots.
It really is.
Hollow.
And there's some of that gold we talked about. It's a shame it's not wood.
Exactly.
But,
I will next time.
That's why I'm talking so fast, by the way, is because of this tea, man.
Yeah, well, we're at the end of it, so.
And I had
to call in the tea maiden.
double espresso before I came, and now just so I'm on. But so last night, my friend and I, we tried to watch the Serious Disclosure movie.
Oh, someone sent me that. Someone sent me that shit. You failed? It didn't work? I'm judging by your laughter that it was not a success.
I got an hour into it.
That sounds like an accomplishment.
It was more my friend was like, dude, we should just come on. Let's try. He's being open-minded about it. We got an hour into it, and then
Is that the Dog Star?
I tapped out. Well, Sirius is the Dog Star, but it was Dr. Greer's movie.
I don't know who that is. Who's that?
Oh, really? Oh, Stephen Greer. He he's a dude.
He's a dude.
Yeah.
Does he know things?
He says he does. Yeah, he says he does. One of the greatest, and I'm not gonna, I don't want to talk any shit about anybody. I enjoyed it on perhaps the level that it didn't intend.
Right.
I enjoyed it from more of a
unintentional comedy,
kind of a Tim and Eric type of angle. But there's a great point that sums up the entire hour of it that I watched. They were talking about aliens and disclosure, et cetera, and they said that one of their people in their crew asked the Dalai Lama about aliens and said, "What do you think about? Here's all my data. What do you think about the aliens? Do you think that they exist?" And he said that the Dalai Lama said, "If you believe it in your reality, then it exists." Okay, they took that as, yeah, that means it exists. The Dalai Lama just confirmed. He said, yes, it exists. But what he is saying, and I think that this sums up the entire documentary and all of the thoughts I've heard come out of that camp, is just the notion that he was talking about your subjective consciousness.
Right.
If you believe in something in your subjective consciousness,
it's real
exists.
To you.
Yeah, it doesn't have to exist in objectivity.
Yeah, but then you see something like there's this one, I forget what it's called, but it's this like 2-hour documentary, and it goes through a lot of like the Air Force pilots and these Navy captains and all these just really gritty, salt of the earth people. They're like, look, I didn't want to see this shit, and I don't want to even talk about it, but this is what happened, and I'm getting old now, and I want to tell you what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
And those people, to me, it's like, they're not getting anything out of this.
Yeah.
This is not what they like to do.
Yeah.
And those reports tend to be pretty convincing for me. And then there's another one it was like the governor of Arizona who came out. Remember there was those lights over Phoenix or whatever?
Arizona is well known for its truth and steadfast thinking.
Yeah. So the governor came out and they made there was those big lights over Arizona, and they made a big spectacle out of it. Like he paraded this fake alien out there.
They have that in the Sirius thing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, whatever. And then he's like, then he comes back on the show. Yeah. He's like, look, I'm sorry. I actually went out to an elementary school, and I was there, and I saw this thing hover silently over me the size of a football field.
Yeah.
He's like, I fucking saw it.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa. That doesn't help his political career.
Yeah, he had Bibble. He brought Bibble out there first.
Yeah.
Or some Chappelle show.
Yeah.
But I mean, my problem with it is my main, other than just the absurdity of it, is the
absurdity of what, the documentary or the phenomenon?
The documentary.
Okay, is
the tone of the documentary. It is fucking ridiculous,
like
man.
Just cocksure.
Well, it's cocksure. It's headstrong. It's headstrong and cocksure. It's cocksure and headstrong. No, it's the tone of it, man. You can make a documentary about stuff. You can make a documentary about things that are metaphysical or phenomenons which seem to exist outside of the realm of normality. But if the tone you set for your delivery of your information is a bunch of John Williams type of strings in the background and lots of drums, lots of this stuff, like and the narration is, and then the blah 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 blah, and lots of haunting little silly corny musical moments, and it's all pressured and driven up, and like they can this ominous, like scary type of tone about it that's like trying to make it all unsettling and pressurized. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you talking? Why are you delivering information like that?
Right.
Like I was just thinking, I was thinking last night while I was watching it, that if you watched like a documentary on World War II, and it was all like, you watch those, it's like, here's some grainy footage, and they're like, yeah, and then here's what happened is that, that Belgium and France, blah, 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 and then eventually Hitler died, and then there it was, lots of death. But if they were like, in 1942, there was this, and then the strings come in, with a bunch of stuff, it would be like, this is ridiculous. What are they doing?
Right. But at least it would be based on fact. It gets even sillier when it's based on speculation.
Yeah, it's like, why did they package this like this?
Just putting, as Rogan would say, putting too much English on the people.
Of course, yeah. So it's like, dude, you gotta.
And that's a shame too, because that shit'll turn people off. People will point to that and say, look at that, that's bullshit, and then they'll discard the whole thing. And people have a tendency to, as the old expression goes, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just find some excuse to say, oh yeah, look, the whole phenomenon's bullshit because listen to these kooks who believe everything. It's like they're not. Everybody goes too far generally as a people. So if the phenomenon is true to a certain extent, there's going to be people who go way off the deep end, say they talk to them, get these long histories and nonsense, which is purely probably some act of fiction, either intentionally or unintentionally.
No, it's that thing of people that don't understand the nature of being want to be special. Yeah, people just want to be special. They want to be the one with the information. I figured this out. Put some cameras on me. Let me talk about this. Let me run my mouth. And
it seems like the key thing is you got to get the ego out of the way. You got to. The people who are doing the real work, they just feel like that's what they're there to do.
Exactly.
They don't take any of this big bluster. And the people that annoy me the most are those spiritual types, those pseudo spiritual types that it's
tough, man.
They clearly have their ego firmly ahead of their work, and they're taking they're self-important because of it, and almost condescending to people.
They have to be. It's a position of power.
Yeah, it goes so contrary to what the message that they're trying to do. You can just feel the condescension emanating from them. I know people like that, and it's like, do you really? You go to, like, for example, my ayahuasca shaman, I think, is the perfect example, is Maestro Orlando Chuandama. The most humble dude. You'll see him in the cafeteria area. Not really a cafeteria, it's just where we get served food and stuff at the retreat, or out in the huts. And he's just laughing, having a normal time. He doesn't put on the air of shaman and try to be mysterious. He'll fucking throw on a ball cap and laugh and joke around. But when it's time to do work, motherfucker steps up and puts you in another world. And I think that's the way it is. You're not trying to be anything.
Of course.
Anybody trying to be something is gonna look phony.
You just won't be that thing. Yeah. I mean, of course. Yeah. It's like the I think I said on another podcast, it's an Alan Watts quote, is the biggest ego trip going is getting rid of your ego.
Right.
And that's like, those are some wise words, man. And all those, I mean, as you said, you can tell if you're playing the character, if you're self-identifying as this thing, then, obviously you're not in the, you're not doing it right, man. You're doing it to give off the essence of that character instead of just being that thing. And
there's all right. So then there's a distinction to make, between that and the kind of fake it till you make it concept.
Yeah.
Where you're genuinely striving to improve yourself or improve your status, and you're acting as if you were already there, and to a certain extent. And I think there's some validity to doing that. Like, let's say you're not a very confident person on the dating scene, right?
Do some push-ups.
Do some squats. Right. Definitely. But let's say you're not that confident, but acting as if you were confident, can actually help you become that confident, or acting as if you were a great writer when you're writing, and do that. But don't take that into your heart, don't, still keep the humility and, put your belief and put yourself in that position, but don't make it about your ego, make it about striving towards something and altering your belief systems and actually pushing yourself to that. And I think that's a distinction for people, because I'm about the fake it till you make it. Like, if you want to be a great comic, get up there and act like you're a great comic. But a great comic isn't, he's just going to feel like the work is flowing through him anyways.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's a slippery thing that you're saying, but I know what you mean. It's like you can't, it's all about how you wear that. If you go, it's not so much, I think the fake it till you make it thing is a little tricky, because it's not so much like you should go up there and act like you're Doug Stanhope, and because that's ridiculous. Right. But what you could do is go up there and be like the best idea of what a comedian is in that time for you. Yeah. And it's like, that's what that thing is. It's like, well, if you want to be a musician, then start writing music. Right. Start, like, sit down and just start trying to figure it out, figure that thing out, figure out how it all works and put it together and do your research. But don't, but don't go out and go, oh, I'm a musician now. Right, this is great. Right. Hey, everybody. Hey, how you doing? I'm this guy. Yeah, I'm a musician. Those guys. I just want to, punch you. I had this new thing is that, like, anyone that annoys.
If Cory wants to punch you, that means you're off.
Yeah, you're pretty off.
You're off.
Yeah. I started.
That's like one of the last actions on your list. Yeah, there's like a million things.
Yeah, it's true. I started thinking about this thing about, like, any people that say stuff like that annoy me, just like choking them until they fall asleep, just choking them out.
Just gently.
Yeah, just gently. Just go to sleep. Yeah. And just their arms will just be, just, and I'll be like, no, it's okay.
Like
it's
an
okay.
octopus slowly losing consciousness.
It's okay. Just go to sleep. Try again. Wake up and try again. It's okay. But that stuff, I mean, the whole, in the art world, man, I can tell you in the music world, it's the self-identification parade it's crazy, because everybody, particularly in the creative, I think, realm, whether it be writers, musicians, especially actors, it's a strange thing that there's so much, like, culture and identity that goes along with it, and there's always the people that are the most talented are always the ones that you that they don't talk about.
They'll never even tell you.
It's because they're not trying to be a thing. They have evolved and bloomed into that thing.
Right.
And it's like, I don't like talking about music or writing music or even the technical side of music per se, unless it's someone that I know already, or it's like a way I can gauge the person's their angle,
put them to a litmus.
Yeah, exactly, and kind of say, okay, why are they want to talk about this? And, like, because I never want to be that guy, because as my girlfriend always says, like, if I ever get started talking, I'd never stop. Right. And there's that too, but it's it's like wanting to find about, like, okay, is this an appropriate time to talk about my discipline right now? And but we're all looking for identity.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, that's the most tried and true test, though. And I think I've mentioned this before, but it's worth reiterating. When the true masters are not going to let you know right off the bat that they're masters. Like, it's down to as trivial a thing as ping pong.
Yeah,
like I grew up playing my whole life. Played with my brothers, my mother, whatever. So I can play a bit, but so when people come up to me and they're like, oh yeah, I'm fucking nasty, bro. I'm gonna kick you out. Okay, well, we'll play.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll play you.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the people who are like, yeah, I've held a paddle every now and then. Those are the people I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna be on. This is gonna be a war. And so something as trivial as that to anything else, whenever you meet a master, to even fighters, So there's some exceptions where they're real, just troubled, fucked up people. But the real masters, most of them across the board, they're going to be the last persons to be aggressive.
Yeah, for sure.
And let people know, like, oh yeah, I'm a fucking ass kicker. I'm one of the baddest men on the planet.
Yeah.
Here's someone talking like that. There's a good chance you can kick his ass, or they're really screwed up in the head always to begin with. But it's across the board, man. Musicians, artists, athletes, even executives. I've had so many people who are, the first thing out of their mouth is they'll meet me. Oh yeah, I'm the CEO of blah blah blah, and they'll hit me with some gross sales numbers right off the bat.
That's delicious.
Like, okay, good
classy.
For you. Good for
classy.
you. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna start talking about downloads. Hey, how nice to meet you. Here's how many editions I've sold out of my records. Check iTunes.
Yeah.
I got 8 albums up there.
Right.
So check them. Oh, by the way, people, check out iTunes. I got type in Cory Allen. I got a lot of albums. That was a little peeling of reality right there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, I think that the reason why people that feel the need to talk about their discipline as a starter, it's because the discipline hasn't become like an instinct yet. It hasn't become them, and so it seems like something to need to talk about. It's like I think that once you go on the path and you put in the 10,000 hours or whatever, and you learn your discipline and you become that thing where it becomes inside of you. It's not something that needs to be talked about because it's inside of you. It's just a part of who you are. I've known people for a long time and never even talked about music.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever I do, then they're always like, "Wow," and I'm like, "Yeah, oh yeah."
Then you bring out your 49.
Yeah, then I bring out my 49 string instrument and get crazy. No, but I just keep it behind a curtain. So I've got a little remote control. I can click it, and the curtain comes back. But no, and it's just because it's like, and they're like, "Why didn't you ever talk about this? Before this is interesting." I say, "Oh, because I don't like. It's like brushing your teeth. You're not going to go up to everyone and say, 'Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Nice to meet you. I brush my teeth twice a day.'" And it's like, "Oh, great." It's like, well, that's something that you do. I think that a discipline is like that very much. It's like it's just something you do. It's and to
that's it. It's So what about for the people who haven't kind of reached that level? I think Robert Greene's new book, Mastery, is a good place to start. Stephen Pressfield's War of Art, Turning Pro, talks about that. But I think, I just did a podcast yesterday, and, we're talking about a lot of people making the mistakes on the path. But let's say for those individuals listening who haven't found their path to mastery yet, and I think the key thing that I can draw back to, and it's everybody says the same thing, and I think it's because it's true. I tried a lot of different things, and nothing brought me to the level of success and fulfillment. Well, first of all, fulfillment, but then success followed as doing something that I was really passionate about. You got to find that thing that you love to do, and at some point you must have loved sound and music.
Yeah.
Just that. And then so you developed your career based upon that love. For me, I've loved health, fitness, spirituality. On It handles the health and fitness, and I get to push everything into that part of my passion. Mm-hmm. And Warrior Poet handles the philosophy and the spirituality. So it's easy it's just like the wind turns from your face to your back.
Exactly.
At that point.
Yeah.
You'll be fucking shocked. I mean, and even still, like, because, some traditions say you're working in your dharma, or you're working in your power, or you're working in your passion, whatever you want to say about it. When you're in that mode, pieces will just come to you. Allies will come out of the woodwork, like yourself. You just appear to help out the process when you're doing the right thing. And then when you're doing the wrong thing, you can count on some fucking headwind, and it'll be headwind that'll amplify until it takes you down.
It seems like every time, that's very true. It seems like every time I come to the Anna office, there's audio issues. You notice that?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Weird.
You're so weird, man. I think that you have audio issues.
We
and
have
then you call me
permanent
and
audio.
you're like, dude, won't you,
Corey, no.
won't you come over?
That's
man?
the wrong. That's a good hypothesis, right? The real hypothesis is we have constant audio issues.
Yeah.
So when you come, there's always something
to do.
Yeah. You could come randomly based upon a random number generator. You'll find us with audio issues because we're a bunch of monkeys here that sell actual kettlebells, look like monkeys. We can't handle these equipment.
Also, I see some other of the the kettlebells over there, some prototypes.
I know, yeah.
Dude, those things look amazing.
Yeah, they're sick.
Cool.
People don't even know about those things.
Yeah.
I leaked the Gorilla, but they don't know about the other 6 of them.
The other ones are amazing.
Yeah,
they make me want to pick up their handle and throw them away from me, and then they'll keep coming back, and I'll keep throwing them away.
Oh, that's a hint.
Yeah,
that's a hint.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Way to drop that subtly, Cory Allen.
That's how I like to do it. So yeah. But what you're saying is right, and the trick is that whether it be music or fitness and health and whatnot, is that it's the way to identify your passion. That's a real struggle for a lot of people. I know a lot of people who are very smart, open-minded, intelligent, and aware people, but they're not sure what that thing is that they need to channel their energy for. And I think that it's the thing in your life that you can't not do. You can identify something.
What if that's masturbating?
Then you need to be a professional masturbator, my friend. But you figure out a way to market it, you know?
So I agree with you. I think that's a very good guide. The thing that you can't not do, but a distinction between your passion and your pleasure, I think needs to be made.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because I worked with Fleshlight, and that there's no good way to fuck up your enjoyment of pornography, the whole scene, masturbation, anything that you thought was, ooh, this is cool and exciting, than to actually work in that industry.
Yeah, because the reality is, I was talking about
and
this.
it just ruins it.
Yeah.
It's the same as the people who, let's say, oh man, I love going to the club and getting my freak on.
That's ridiculous.
And then, okay, be a fucking club manager.
Yeah.
And see how much you love the club.
Or just turn the lights on while you're at a club.
Right. But you're always wasted by that point anyway. So it's like, whatever. I don't remember that. But yeah, the people who work in the industry, it gets not fun anymore. When you're thinking about your passion, don't get it twisted and confused with your pleasure, your distraction.
For some silly reason, I thought that didn't need to be said, but you're right. It's a good point. People do need to.
Well, you ask people, you're like, oh, what do you love to do? Well, I love to hit on bitches, and I love to, drink. And I'm like, no, that's not it. That's not what we're talking about here.
I guess
maybe if you love
like
craft beer,
I do.
You love the intricacies of that. Well, maybe you should be a brewer. So I'm not saying it couldn't be an alcohol, or maybe if there is some element of sex, like I love whatever this aspect of it.
This is right. Yeah.
Explore it. That could be your passion, not your pleasure.
That's mostly the way it goes, is that you find out what your pleasure is, and then you figure out a way to turn that into a passion. That's what I did, is that I always liked making music, and I always worked on music, and then it turned out that people like the sound of my productions, and they're like, dude, that sounds really good. And that's just when I was using a laptop, before I had a real studio. And they'd be like, that sounds cool. And then people started going like, dude, can you whatever you're doing to your music, can you take my music and do that to it? Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, yeah, sure, man. And I would just do it because I liked it. And I'd be like, yeah, this is cool. I like making stuff sound good. I've always been really into that. And so then I was like, maybe I should try and do. And so that was where I started realizing, whenever I started getting more and more people, friends that were also composers and musicians, asking me, can you help me do this? Or someone making a short film, can you help me with the audio, make it sound good? But yeah, sure. And I realized, oh, wait a second, this is where I can get my pleasure and my passion working for me here. It's I can do that thing. So I figured out how to do that all professionally, and there it is.
There you go.
So it's finding a path, a professional path within your pleasure is
that's it. Within your passion. I think also sometimes as you're figuring it out, because I liked writing too, but that wasn't my career choice to be a professional writer at that point was, I had people telling me that, well, you love to write. I was like, but that's just a fraction of what the writing is, an expression of what I like to do. And that is to move people, to inspire them, to create effect. Writing just happens to be my paintbrush. That's what I'm better at than, So it wasn't for me the craft of writing so much that, and I do want to be a writer to a certain extent, but that wasn't the direct right choice. But is it an element of what I do? Absolutely. I'm writing all of the text copy for On It. I'm writing for Warrior Poet, and eventually I'll write some books.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things you have to think about, as far as what is at the core motivation behind it.
Yep.
Like what are you really trying to do? And is it robust enough to accomplish, to really allow you to find your actualization as the best possible human being you can be?
Right. And I mean, that's like with anything creative, it's basically like there's a sensation in your head, right? In your reality, your subjective worldview. And you need to figure out, and this is the whole process of creating art or philosophy or anything, is that you've got this sensation in your mind. What's the best way to externalize it?
Yeah.
What's the best way to get it out of your body so that other people can observe it? And that's you have to make that decision. Is that, for me, is ridiculous. In some ways it is. I mean, it's all my music comes from my philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, that was the language I could articulate the most in.
Yep.
It's a very strange way to try and communicate that. It's not literal, but it's the best way I could communicate what I'm trying to say, with that. And for you, writing is the same. Perhaps it's a way to externalize that idea, but a bigger way to externalize that is by On It in podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways. Or those little videos that I'm doing.
Yeah,
that's a genre that wasn't even in my head before then, but it seems to be a very effective way to communicate philosophy.
Yeah, you're saying.
First of all, I write the script, but then it's not just reading it. It's a full sensory download of the message.
Act it out.
Yeah, exactly. So everything kind of evolves, but in the process, while people are trying to figure that out, I really always rely on that Cyrano de Bergerac quote where he says, when he was once troubled by all the many paths that lay before him, he decided to be admirable at everything.
Mm-hmm.
So just work on being great. Practice greatness at whatever it is that you can do, and while you're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Work on yourself. Work on, your emotional, balance and control, and work on your discipline, and work on yourself. Shit, if you don't know anything else to do, then maybe say, fuck it, I'm really confused right now. I'm going to try and I'll just make my own health and fitness my goal for now, and just be excellent at that for a while you're trying to sort things out and figure it out. Don't use the excuse of, well, I don't know, to not put that same drive into something. You can just create something positive, whatever it is, even if it's not your ultimate goal, and just funnel that motivation into it, because you're going to need that practice. You're going to need the practice of sticking to something and being dedicated and being diligent.
So exactly. Here's the thing. Wait, our reality is a transient hallucination, and if you want to try and create meaning, it's the yoga, objective and reality hitting your subjective viewpoint. If you want to try and create meaning in that, when I say meaningless universe, I don't mean meaningless as in nothing matters. I mean as in the hallucination of our subjective plane of reality, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to try and create meaning in a meaningless universe, or a holographic universe, perhaps is a better way to say it, then you should do so. And it's your duty to do so. If you all of our bodies and our minds are like antennas, and if you happen to be one of the people that's tapped into a particular source, which is downloading something into your antenna, into your mind, then it's your duty to create that and put it out there for the collective consciousness, for all of us, for humankind. And so the point that you're talking about, taking care of your body, or drinking more water, eating better, exercising, any of those things, vitamins, supplements, Alpha Brain, any of those things, then what you're doing in the long run is great, because in order to, if you're delivering writing or music or art or whatever, or business, whatever it is, is your antenna, the better and stronger and more in tune your antenna, the better signal you're going to be able to download from wherever the information's coming.
And the better you're going to be able to broadcast from.
Yeah. So even if you don't know what you're doing, just take care of yourself and keep becoming, it's not even physical, but it's, I hate the word spiritual, but internally and externally, get as strong as you can, get as healthy as you can, and get your mind, get as open to truth and your awareness as blossomed as possible. And then when it's time for you to download that information that comes into you from the universe, then you'll have the strongest transmitter for that information.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that has been allowed me to be the most effective antenna as I could, is that the fact that the message that I send, I can send a pretty esoteric, hippy-dippy message sometimes.
Some of those emails you write to me at like 4 a.m. really, they're really weird.
But I can. I don't actually do that. Cory's just making jokes. But people have a harder time discrediting it when they see success in the business world. They see the fact that I can, play a basketball game and compete, and I can train MMA, and I can, this whole package is like, oh, well, it makes it harder to discredit, and not saying that that's the path that everybody needs to follow, but the more well-rounded you are, the more people you're going to reach. I can talk to someone who's dead against all of, straight up atheists. Oh, this is all bullshit. Oh, spiritual bullshit. And they can evaluate me on all of my other criteria, the criteria that matter to them, and then they can respect me on those grounds. And then all of a sudden, because of that respect that I've earned on those other grounds, we can start talking about this other stuff, and they'll actually listen to me.
Yeah.
Whereas someone dressed up like Sun Ra, they're going to be like, look at this fruitcake.
That's my man right there. No, he's not fruitcake. He's a genius.
Yes. Well, but anyways, you know what I'm talking about, though. People who are, if you're in robes and you smell like BO and, you have a gigantic crystal wrapped in copper wire and flowing hair, and you look like you're going to molest somebody.
Take it easy. I don't know who you're thinking of. Who's swimming around in the ocean of your mind's eye.
That's like the epitome of the worst kind of front. And that if you're that guy, it's going to be real hard to talk to a stock trader about, a psychedelic experience or expanding their consciousness or meditating or something like that. They're going to be like, okie dokie. You don't know anything about my world, so I'm going to discredit everything you say. Yeah. And I think so, becoming a well-balanced person is important,
Yeah, it's a matter of like all of that shit, all of your opinions, your takes on everything. That's all really skin deep, man. The thing that's important is the truth and the position and malleability of where your mind is at. If you're willing to be open and dilated and aware of in our world of ideas and willing to expand in your own ideas, you realize that even your own opinions are just that. They're just perceptions. It's this subjective like data that you've got that, and I think that any person that's growing is going to be constantly revising their reality tunnel. Mm-hmm. That's like, I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I'm not the same person I was a week ago. I'm not the same person I was yesterday. I'm always constantly revising my reality. And the more I learn and the more I observe in this world, the more I add to that picture, the more I can broaden my map.
I just sent out a tweet, man. I'm shocked at how much I still have to learn constantly.
Well, the thing is that it never will stop. It will never stop. And if it ever does stop, then
I feel like it should. I feel like it should slow, but it doesn't.
No, it won't. Because think about human consciousnesses are so funny. They're like little flashlights scanning through the darkness, just trying to find something, trying to find some information. And the universe is so complex and so huge. There's no chance that we could ever download it all into our minds. It will never stop. It's like there's a Zen thing that says that you can't have all of the ideas in your mind, just as you can't hold all of the water from all of the oceans in the world in your mouth. It's the same type of thing. And if anything, I want it to speed up, because the better you get at understanding our world and the more open you get, the faster you should be able to learn and the more you should be able to assimilate information. And so,
yeah, but I'm talking, I hear what you're saying, but I'm talking about like fundamental analysis and understanding about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like
but
the big self-improvement pieces, you think you got that shit figured out for them. you got like the bulk of it, and it's just fine tuning from there. Like you got the engine right. It's just a matter. You got to tweak the carburetor a little bit in the tranny. You got to get
tranny.
You got to get all the exhaust. You got to get all that working.
No.
But there's like constantly fundamental overhauls of the entire car.
Doesn't work that way.
Like, man, I just still, I don't know.
Work that way.
I think it can, though. I think you can get to a point where you at least get most of the big picture out of the way, and then you work on
if you've settled on your
fine-tuning.
reality. If you've settled on your reality.
But I do believe that there is a truth that is actually non-malleable. I mean, I have kind of a Platonic view of truth at a certain extent. I believe that there are fundamental truths. There's some subjective elements of reality, but there is
Like all of it.
No, that's where we disagree. That's
Okay.
where we just. For me,
We got to talk about consciousness now.
for me, I think that there is a fundamental truth. Like one of the truths is the spirit exists beyond the death of the body. That's a truth. That's not subjective.
But do you have any? What's your like your provability for that? And I don't mean like you need hard evidence.
Look,
but like
everybody gets that shit proved to them when they die.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, I could. It's just
I
the
can't.
same.
Can I prove that? If anybody could prove that, then with scientific rigor,
Yeah.
then it would be accepted mainstream. That's still not an accepted
Yeah.
mainstream. But there's all kinds of religious beliefs that are nonsense. But I've experienced it personally, and I've experienced enough proximity to that I have, in my opinion, a justified, true belief regarding that preposition, that hypothesis.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying that this to my point about like your subjective reality is within that you can identify that and feel and relate to that as
Yeah,
truth.
but I don't think it's subjective. I think that's subjective. And I was just, I went to a speech from Ralph Metzner, who was in the conference, and he's a brilliant guy, and he was talking about the same thing. The idea of death in our society is infantile. Like the spirit goes on, and he was straight up said in the conference, he's like, "That's not an opinion. That's a fact." And I was like, "Good for you. Good for you to have the courage to say that."
Well, yeah. I mean, there's courage to believe in your belief enough that you can say that.
Right. Well, at the end of the day, the skeptic will say blah blah blah, but at some point, we'll pass on and I'll either be me and Ralph Metzer and a lot of these other people will either be right or wrong.
Yeah.
But there will be a right or wrong moment.
There will be.
It's not like depending on your belief. If you die and you don't believe that anything's going to happen, then nothing happens.
Sure,
or if you
of course.
die, there is going to be a truth that occurs. And I think there are these truths. Now, whether we can prove them or not now, that's a different thing, but that doesn't matter. But there are truths, and the goal is to get as close to those as possible in the main kind of working. Same with truths about, there's truths about love, there's truths about identity, there's truths that we've been talking about, ego and things like that. Those, in my opinion, are not just subjective, wiggly, elbowy ideas. Those are there's some truth to.
But they're
to
your
what
own truths. That's the thing.
No, they're universal truths.
I mean, it's a philosophical disagreement, but I think that you can believe all of those things, and I have certain believies. I love my little believies, I have them too, but I don't take them seriously. I take them very sincerely. I think that those are my hunches. That I have a lot of hunches about death, about life, about energy, about consciousness, all of those things, but I don't get too involved in them because I know that they'll change and that they're just my singular perception of what I believe to be a truth. And so,
sure, you don't want to be stubborn. You don't want to be fixed and closed-minded to that.
Yeah, the thing is that
concept
I see
should evolve.
The reality and all ideas that I hear, I don't believe any more or less out of any of those things on paper. I have, like I said, I have my little believies that I love, that I like to think about, that I really like that I think and would put a little bit of extra money on are truths and their hunches. But I don't think that any information that somebody has as a belief is correct or incorrect.
Yeah, but we're talking epistemology here. I mean, this is not really exactly the point. Because I agree with what you're saying. But the point that I'm adding is that there is a truth. Whether you can know it, whether you can know,
for sure. But
whether you can know it or not that's up to you and what your epistemological belief is.
Yeah, it's the fraction of. Like it's the tiny glimpse of that light of truth that you can get, and how close and how far away from you. I mean, that's going to be the meter. I mean, you look at human.
That's fine. That's fine. I agree with you there. I just want to make my point clear that at the end of the day, there is a truth.
For sure, yeah, for sure. But
and the truth may be that certain things are subjective.
Yeah.
That could be the truth. The truth could be that X, phenomenon is a subjective phenomenon.
Yeah.
But that's the truth there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there is, the truth doesn't change.
But humans are so ridiculously narcissistic and solipsistic that we think it has to do with us.
Right.
All those truths have to do directly with us. Nothing else on the planet or the universe. And so you get so involved in like piling all this human stuff on it, is that like, well, this has to do with the human, this and this and this and this. And it's like, no, I mean, it's not about you. Get over yourself.
Right.
It's about everything in this universe and on this planet. If you look at like the human consciousness, I love the Alfred Korzybski, the general semantist. The map, the map is not the territory. The menu isn't the meal, and so you've got an external reality that's out there, that's the objective world outside of your skin. And there's a cyclical feedback loop of your nervous system apprehending and perpetually absorbing information and data from that objective universe. And within that, as you take the cyclical reading from the objective universe, it creates the electrical image inside of your brain that generates your consciousness. And that's all predicated upon the structural differential, which is your past experience and association and psychological reference to all of your past experiences in your life and all of the information that you've read. So your entire consciousness is predicated upon past experience, and in that moment in space and time of apprehension of your reality. There's nothing to disagree about.
No, there is something to disagree. I don't think your consciousness is based on, I think your consciousness is a mix between that, but that's your mind created consciousness. I think there's a spirit level consciousness which you can access, which is not affected by all of your personal life history.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking. That's a part of your scaffolding of yourself.
Right. That's what
I'm getting at is that the world outside of your skin and the world inside of your skin are two different things.
Right.
It's the map. And if
but that's where it gets weird, because outside of your skin is, in my worldview, which I believe to be a truth, is a soul level intelligence. I fucking spoke to it for 10 hours. That's why I believe it. It's not just because I read it somewhere.
No, it's out there.
I spoke to my own higher intelligence outside of myself on my Iboga trip for 12 hours. So I know that part exists.
It's out there for sure, but your direct experience with it is you're still using an instrument to look at it.
Sure.
And that's what I'm trying to get at, is that our bodies are like the way that a scientist looks through a microscope to see something microscopic. Our microscope is our body and our nervous system.
Right.
And our consciousness is looking through our body and our nervous system to see the slide of reality.
True.
And so that's where it gets tricky, is that people believe that the slide of their reality is the truth. They believe that that's objectivity. And that's where all fights, all disagreements, all hatred, all argument comes from, is that. It's cognitive dissonance. It's whenever two conflicting reality tunnels are banging against each other with misinformation, because they both believe that their real reality is their slide that they're reading through their nervous system. So that's why I like the menu isn't the meal thing, or the map isn't the territory. We're all, it's like a way I've described this before is like, if you think about your reality as a constantly expanding bubble or something like that, and the more you can plot on there, the bigger that thing will get. Now, if you hadn't spoke with somebody, this is to show that there's a difference between the world outside of your skin and the world inside, is if you hadn't spoke to a really good friend of yours in like a year that moved to another country or something, and you spoke to a mutual friend and you said, hey, how's, so-and-so? And they said, oh, you didn't hear, man? He died like a week ago. Oh, really? That's terrible. So that whole year in your subjective map of reality of the universe, that person was living. And until that moment where somebody told you and you assimilated that data into your skin, into your nervous system, that person was living, and then they died at that moment. Just the same as like this table. If there's like a mouse under there chilling out the entire time, neither of us, it didn't exist in our realities until one of us observed it and it came inside of our skin. And so it's an important thing to understand is whenever you're living your life, to realize that all of your worldview and all of your information is this subjective, even though it's connected to an objective thing, because you can't get your body. You
can separate it. Though.
No, you can't get your skin out of this
moment
of space
and
time.
So in my perspective, I agree with what you're saying, and it's a way to look at it. But from my perspective,
quick tangent or quick thing is to wrap it up is like, don't believe. I mean, it sounds ridiculous. Like, don't believe your reality is 100%. Like, you're making guesses, you're making perceptions. There are truths in there, but like. When you're feeling angry, you're feeling mad, you're feeling disagreeing with somebody, it's important to realize that you're both experiencing two different versions of the same universe.
Right. I think that's obviously definitely true, but you're talking about phenomenon, in my opinion, of the mind, and the mind creates these subjective realities. And in my opinion, the spiritual intelligence, the soul intelligence, accesses the true realities, the objective realities. Now, does it not go through some element of your cognitive filter? It does. But, just like in this conference I was at, the MAPS conference, they were talking about the mechanism of action for psilocybin. And what psilocybin is doing is it's not adding anything to your mix. It's actually shutting down shutting down portions of your brain.
Yeah.
It's shutting down the portions of your brain that have these created realities of nonsense, like racism, like sexism, like all of these other nonsense. Everything, all of that is created by a certain part of the brain they're finding.
That's the cart. And you take one of those and you move the cart off the horse and you hop on the horse and go, wow, and go riding over into the sunset.
Right, exactly. And even areas of your brain like depression.
Yeah.
They're finding amazing research with psychedelics and depression. Why? Well, because they're shutting off the portion of the brain that controls depression. So you shut that off and you're like, oh, snap. I'm actually not that bad off. Things are not so bad.
What up, frontal lobe?
Yeah, exactly. So, and a lot of the psychedelics are acting the same way. Same with holotropic breathing. Same with fasting. You're actually shutting down systems, and the systems is where these realities live that cause these fights and conflicts and wars and things like that. And it's allowing you to access levels that have a closer affinity with source and the truth that rides along inescapably with source. Source and truth being kind of the same idea. Source can have an energetic tone, of course, to it, but there's truth in that other, that beyond our own mind. And I think it's key to try and access that as much as possible. Going back to like what we said, tapping our third eye. The third eye sees the truth from the objective reality.
Yeah.
The higher reality, the different reality. That the two eyes that we have, our ocular sight sees things from our mind's reality. It's taking images, it's creating it, it's adjusting, making computations for advantages in survival and sex, and going through all that. So while everything you're saying is right, I think it's our goal and something for us to focus on is to make sure that we can occasionally get outside of our mind, have a reality check, and try to tap into truth. Now, does that mean that every time you do a psychedelic, everything that comes to you is truth? Hell no. You hear about people all the time who take acid trips and they get involved in a real egoic thing where they're somehow the saviors of the universe and blah, blah, blah. You hear these kind of hyperbolic experiences.
Yeah,
some of this is,
you got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, they got a lot of work to do, or some of it is coming in metaphor. And as they're coming through, but it's at least allowing them to unload some of the baggage from their mind.
Even to understand that there's that you can wangle your reality. I mean, even if that's this first step is to go, oh yeah, like this thing is malleable. And that's the point I was trying to make with the, if Israel and Palestine both went, you know what, actually, maybe we're not like 100% right, and maybe you guys aren't 100% wrong. Maybe there's like an 80-20 thing going down.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a good step in the right direction,
For sure.
Because they're both believing in their dogmas so strong that...
And they're wrapping emotions and
it's ridiculous.
vendettas and all this. They're packing so much shit in it. They need to unpack that. And they need to... It wouldn't hurt them to all shut down that part of the brain for a little while and, have tea.
Have some kombucha, man. So, it all comes back to resonances. That thing that's inside of us all that connects us all. You're talking about the source of the internal truth that you can access. It's all resonances, man. It's all vibrations. It's part of this stream that is what gives us our life force. It's like we're all these weird like meat tubes suspended in space and time, like just kind of shuffling around on this strange planet. But we've all got this electrical source shot up inside of us, which is giving us our life force. And it's that source and that resonance is where the source of all life and all energy of the universe comes from.
And the philosophy of, did we talk about Ho'oponopono?
No.
So the Hawaiian healer philosophy of Ho'oponopono is predicated upon that same principle, but they go even further in that the source, and this is kind of interesting, the source that's inside of all of us, we think of it as distinct. Like there's a little bit of life force in us, there's a little bit of life force in you, and we think of that a lot. Well, not we, I'm using we liberally. But people think of that as different. Oh, that's Cory's source.
No.
That's Aubrey's source. And there's over there, that's, Katie's source and Ashley's source and whoever else has it. But really, Sunrise source. But really, it's all the same thing.
Of course,
whatever that is has no place in space or time. It is of one thing. It is the source, right? So their belief is that if you want to change somebody else, you just have to work on that element inside yourself and, go through the Ho'oponopono, which is a radical forgiveness and release of that element.
And face tattooing. Hammering it in.
That could do it too.
Totally. That's the transcending duality thing. When you transcend duality, you realize that, another great Alan Watts thing is like the piece of land where it's your backyard and your neighbor's backyard and there's a fence there. Just because there's a fence there doesn't mean it's two separate pieces of land.
Right.
You pull that fence up and it's still the same piece of land. That's how we all are. I mean, it's like the life force in all of us is the life force in each other.
Yep.
And if and that's an interesting thing about people with associations, people that tend to become friends and like each other, is that they're seeing it's this reflective thing where you're, the kind of grid of the personality that you have to look through and look between the lines to be able to see that source within somebody. It's strange how when you feel connected with somebody, that's what you're doing. Is like your two personality grids like mesh up in this way where there's this window where you can like, and that's why, for me anyway, I'm a different person with every friend of mine, not dramatically, but in subtle ways. It's like I think differently, I talk differently. I
like
think
a good escort.
Yeah, I'm a philosophical escort. But that's the malleability of the nature of our energetic universe,
Yeah.
But once again, it's all about resonances. That's why music is so. That's why some people like some music. We all have a different tune. A different vibrational frequency of that life force inside of us.
Yeah.
And some people like certain things because it's like the crystal glass shattering whenever the opera singer sings. It's because the resonance of that
Does
glass.
that actually happen, actually?
Sure, yeah. It's because
How gangster do you have to be as an opera singer to shatter glass?
I'd like A$AP Rocky to be like, oh,
yeah.
That would be sweet. But with wooden teeth.
That's a great line. I love bad bitches.
Oh, yeah.
I got a fucking problem. What's it? I love bad bitches. That's my fucking problem.
2 Chainz. He's trapped in a liveness bubble that he can't get out of.
I love bad bitches. That's my fucking problem. I know I like to fuck. I got a fucking problem.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, he's trapped in a liveness bubble, man. He can't. 2 Chainz. So we need to help 2 Chainz get out of his liveness bubble and let that man relax a little bit.
Yeah, well,
he's amped up.
He is.
But anyway,
he's different.
I love him. On Currency, I don't know if any of you guys know who Currency is, but he's one of the best rappers alive. He's amazing. He's one of my favorites. He's got like 90 albums. And if you, not really, he's got like 15.
Too short?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Got 16 albums with me on the front. What?
Yeah. He's the best. But there's a great song with 2 Chainz. If you guys listen to an album called Stoned Immaculate by Currency, there's a track with 2 Chainz. It's super hot. Anyway, so back to what we're talking about. It's all that resonance thing, man. And that's why some people like some type of music, and some people like some type of art. People like some type of personality. We all have our resonances, and what makes resonances stronger are similar resonances. Get in tune with people that are in your tune, and you'll create this harmony, man, and the strength will grow. That's like all my friendships. I'm very decisive about who
it's a cool point you make. You hear these things that you're the average of your 5 closest friends, and I'm like, maybe, kind of. I think that's kind of a real generality. That's been going around a lot lately. There's some truth to that, but I think it's also what you're saying. You can create something greater with people that you can harmonize with. Yeah,
exactly.
It just redoubles the amplitude of what you're going to be able to put out.
Totally. That's like all of my. I was going to say is like all of my friendships that I'm decisive about who I spend time around, and they're all there's downward shifting friendships, where they're giving to them and they're always taking things from you, and not like material things, but personal, philosophical, energetic type things. And there's upward flow where someone's always giving you something. But the friendships I like to have are lateral friendships. We're helping each other up the mountain. You're growing together. And every time I hang out with one of my friends that I spend time with every week, we learn something. We grow together, you know, and those are the friendships to hold on to and lock into. And, you know, it's amazing when you wake up and realize how far you've traveled with one of those people, you know.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, Cory Allen, we got a little excited. We went over an hour. We're at an hour 15, but that's good because we haven't podcasted in a while. Right. We had to unleash.
It's the deluxe edition.
We had to leash some stuff. I'll have to tell you the next time about some personal experiences I had with Ho'oponopono, but we'll leave that for another conversation because had some pretty cool anecdotal stories to tell about how altering something in my own life has been able to have a seemingly causal effect on a totally unrelated individual.
Yeah, we could do a whole podcast about that type of stuff.
Sounds good, man. Yeah. Well, we'll have to do it. Again, thanks for listening. Sorry about the long delay in our podcasting, everybody. You know, podcast is always brought to you by On It. On It's got its own podcast now, so I'll just focus on repping on that podcast. But check it out, onnit.com. Cory Allen, he's at Quiet Design on Twitter. What's the best web URL you want to send people to?
Check out Cory, Cory-Allen, Allen.com. And my new records, The Great Order and Pearls, are on there. You can get both of those. The Great Order is now on iTunes, so you can also copy it there. So, you know, I would love you guys forever if you get on there and type in some nice words in there about how that you put that record on and it exploded your third eye.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Explosions of any type are good, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
You put that record.
But anyway, it's all.
Also, check out my Facebook. I'm putting a lot of love and effort into my Facebook page. Probably slightly at the expense of my blog. I've been posting more on my Facebook than my blog, but check it out. It's facebook.com/warriorpoetus. All right, people, mad love. I'll be hopefully doing a podcast with Joey Diaz coming up here soon.
Nice.
So you should see that dropping right after this one. Peace.